Hey, sports card fans, after about a 2-month delay, we are back with another episode of Two Guys, One Hobby. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, John. Glad to be back. Feels like it's been a year.
Yeah, it's been about 2 months or so. But hey, life happened, holidays happened, different schedules with potential guests happen, and this was always meant to be just a random, hey, whenever we get together and feel like doing an episode. So, but it's good to be back. I think we have a great guest today.
We
So,
do.
if you want to introduce our guest,
Yeah,
we'll start the
absolutely.
show.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be invited to a show he does. I don't think he does it as much anymore, but we can ask him here in a second. But a couple of years ago, and just a great guy in the community, great collection. And so let's welcome Adam from Splendid Sports.
Hey,
Hey
Adam.
guys,
What's up, man? How are you?
awesome, man. Honored to be with you guys with the comeback show right here.
That's
This is
right.
gonna be good.
Yes.
First of the year. We're off and running.
Yep.
Well, we got so many emails and requests. Hey, you guys coming back on? Are you going to do another show? I can't wait. So, back by popular demand, I guess you could say. We're doing another
I had
episode.
my kids send those to you, John.
Well, they did pretty good disguising all their names and making it look like different people. So kudos to them. So yeah. So did you have a good holiday, Adam?
Yep. Just kind of coming back into things now, and I got a few pickups here that came in over the holidays that I haven't shown yet, so we can look at those. But yeah, just man, here we are already. We're almost out of January. Next thing you know it, we're already in February. It flies by.
I know. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So what's the weather like out there in Arizona right now?
Right now it's strange. It gets down. Last few nights it's like freezing at night. It'll be like 27 at night, and in the morning you wake up, it's 27, 28, and then by the time like 2:00 rolls around, it's like 75 degrees and sunny. So you got a big variance here. It's crazy.
Wow, I didn't realize it got that cold.
Yeah, it normally doesn't, but yeah, we're in the freezing temperatures here in the morning at night. So pretty strange out here. Everything's a little wacky.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 19 degrees in my car when I got home a little while ago, but it's a dry 19. So.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam, you said you got some pickups fairly recently. If you want to, maybe show some of those off. And
one of the guys I like to collect, Larry Bird. You ever buy a card online and not realize how big it's going to be when it gets to you?
Yeah.
I was going to do a video titled "A Big Pickup," but I figured I'll skip that and I'll just do it here. This is the 1977-79 Sportscaster for Larry Bird. So it's like a pre-rookie card, but I've never seen one of these in person, like at a show or shop or anything. So when I bought it online, I knew it was probably a little oversized, but this thing's like huge.
Yeah.
So it was cool to pick this up. This is one of the tougher Larry Bird, I guess it's a card, or collectibles on the PSA set registry. So I still do a little of that with Larry Bird stuff. So this is like one of the top weighted ones for the Bird stuff. He doesn't have a lot of rare cards, but this was a cool one, early shot of him. Yeah. So I guess I'll maybe throw it out in the comments. I'm sure someone like John Mangini will know, or I have no idea how these were like distributed. This one's from Italy. I guess they had other versions too, but the Sportscaster set, I'm wondering, I don't know how these were put out.
I want to say, and again, in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong, but I want to say, and maybe it wasn't the Sportscasters, maybe I'm thinking of something else, but it's almost like a subscription that every week or every so many weeks you got 3 or 5 cards. Now that one though, that doesn't have any punch holes, does it?
No.
Okay, because maybe the thing I was thinking of, that you would get a binder, and then every week or 2 weeks or something like that, you'd get an additional packet.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, John.
Yeah,
I think you might be right.
But I don't know how you store it though. Oh, I think I remember. It was a plastic box that had a lid, and I think you would just store them in. Because I don't know if I had any Sportscasters, but I think I may have had some friends that had or whatever. But I think it was a subscription thing that you would constantly get new ones.
There we go.
Yep.
Stan the man.
I want to say that you can show it off there, Don. I want to say Boggs has one, but I don't have it in my collection.
Where did you say yours was printed, Adam?
Mine's Italy.
Yeah, that's what this one says too.
Yeah.
They got ones from like Finland. I guess Finland's are maybe even rarer, but yeah, this one, since I'm Italian, half Italian, I figure I'd go for the Italy one. You know?
Yeah, I didn't realize that until you just said that. I had never looked at it close enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Boggs has one or something similar. But I don't think I have it.
Does your Larry Bird say 1978, Adam?
Mine says 79.
Okay. So maybe they made these
obviously
for a couple of years.
Yeah, there was like a 3-year window. Yeah. But it's interesting because, like, you know, Larry Bird's rookie card's 1980. This being a year earlier, it's funny in the hobby you would think, like, logically, like, oh, this would be even like rare, like more valuable because it's an even earlier card. But the rookie is the thing, you know, not the pre-rookie stuff, the prospect stuff. So still not a cheap thing, but you know, it's nowhere near like what the rookie card costs. So
have you seen some of the videos on YouTube about when they interview guys that played against Larry Bird? And all
I love those.
They're great.
Yeah. Yep.
The taunting. I never realized, you know, I didn't watch a whole lot of basketball. But when I would, you know, watch against the Celtics, watching it on TV, you don't pick up the like the name calling or the battles of them, you know, talking. You just see it on the screen. And, he makes a jump shot or whatever, or all the taunting and stuff. But yeah, I guess he was a talker. And
one of my favorites is Dominic Wilkins. He's like, he called me Holmes.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, Holmes?
Yep. Yeah, he's just one of those guys that, you know, is kind of, I think he'll always be something we may get into, hobby relevancy. I think he'll always be hobby relevant just because he's got all these stories that kind of can get passed down of like the time when the other team was cheering for him. He was so hot, you know, in Atlanta. The other bench was like going crazy. And there's just a million stories that you could find. And I think that's important in the hobby, you know, guys like that.
One of my other favorite ones, and we're kind of getting off topic here, but he's playing against Utah, and I think Frank Layden was a coach. And Bird looked over at him and said, "Don't you have anyone that can guard me?" And he looks down his bench. He goes, "Nope."
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, yeah, I was pumped to pick that up and a little surprised in how big it was, but that's cool. You know, I don't mind oversized. I don't want too many oversized things. Like, so I'm trying to keep the oversized collection to a minimum. But
yours is graded too, so that makes it really big. Where mine
huge,
kind of manageable, being in the sleeve.
Yeah, this is a giant right here.
It's just hard to store or display. It's just yeah.
You got to go on the wall, or you know, like it's like a painting or like a
like a
photograph. Yeah.
So any other recent additions or
a couple quick ones, like just random stuff. I sent in a few tickets to PSA. I didn't even grade them. I just wanted them, like, I knew they're authentic because they're my tickets. I went to the games, but I just feel like they look cool, and it's a cool like way to commemorate it. Like, for example, this was a Pearl Jam concert that my wife and I went to here in Phoenix, 2013. See if I get it's a little bit, but we went to a Pearl Jam concert here. Pearl Jam's my favorite band. My wife had never been to a Pearl Jam concert before that, but it was like one of the best ones ever. We were real close up to the stage, and we just had a great time, great memory. So it's just cool to have stuff like this. And
that is cool.
You know,
are tickets always graded authentic?
No, you could do a number grade on it, but I just I don't want a number grade. Like I don't need a 5 on the thing.
Historical, you know? Or collectible value other than for you. You just wanted it protected and
And for me, it's like I don't know. It's like it doesn't cards. I see it a little more, but with tickets, it's kind of like it shouldn't be in like perfect condition. It's a ticket, you know.
Right.
So and then this one was this was my first, or not my first, but the first game at what's known now as Gillette Stadium for the Patriots. Before it was Gillette Stadium, it was called CMGI Field. This was a preseason game. CMGI went bankrupt before the season started, so that's why it's called Gillette. They lost the sponsorship.
Oh wow!
This was 2002. We got Teddy Bruschi on the cover there, on the ticket there. So it was just a cool memory to go. It was the first game, I think, maybe right after they won that Super Bowl, with the first one with Brady. So everyone was all pumped up, and just going to that preseason game was pretty cool. And then the fact that it's got the name of the stadium, which it never really became, it's still on there, CMGI. I don't think there's a ton of them out there. So figure I'd put that in there.
I think it's a shame that you don't get physical tickets anymore. That there's, like, you could go to some great World Series or a great event, and unless you either have season tickets or something where they actually, the very, very few that are printed, it's like all on your phone now. I mean, I remember I went to when the Red Sox were retiring Wade Boggs' number. I went up to the game, and what I have for a ticket is like a cutout. It's not even it's like something I think it may be something I printed out and took to the game. So I cut it out to make it, but it's not a regular Red Sox ticket, and it sort of takes away from. I mean, I always have the memory of going there, and a whole other story, but nearly getting kicked out of Fenway Park. But anyway,
oh, really?
Oh yeah, there was an usher there that was up my butt because I wanted to get a good look at Bog. And anyway, oh yeah, I was close to getting kicked out.
So speaking on those lines, I know you went to the first playoff game in Penn State's history recently up at State College. Did they have any tickets commemorating that, or was it
no? It was all off Ticketmaster, and I showed my phone and went beep, and
so
that's it.
Nothing special saying first playoff game ever.
I don't think there was even the ability to, like, even if I went on to Ticketmaster and tried to print something, I don't even know if that was even an option.
Yeah, I was just curious.
It's all electronic now because they don't want to take regular tickets. It's just show us your phone and beep, beep, beep. And
what I like about, I don't really grade cards anymore with PSA or any of the grading companies for the most part, but tickets are cool because, it's worth the money for me with certain ones because you can actually tell them, they have the final say, but you can recommend what to put on the label. So like first game, at CMGI Gillette Stadium. So for me, it's a kind of a cooler collectible as far as like being able to customize it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I did those, they're just cool memories, and you can get a little more info on the label than you can with a card. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I didn't realize you could have it that custom. So
yeah, they'll. I'm sure if you try to put something that's not true, then they'll obviously try to verify it. But they do give you some say into it. So.
Okay, no, he wasn't.
Yeah. So that's what I got. Nothing crazy, but pretty cool pickup. I'm going to be moving cross country and moving back to Massachusetts in a couple months. And one of the many exciting things with it is I'm going to have more hobby space. I'm going to have hopefully a cool card room like you guys got. So I'm putting stuff like this together that I'm thinking things I can display, like these tickets. And I figured those would be cool things to have like up where you can see them. And if anyone comes over, they could see it, and then it's a good story. So I'm trying to get stuff like that, get ready for the card room. That'll be cool.
Yeah. What part of Massachusetts, if you don't mind me asking?
Cape Cod. I grew up there, and so heading back. Yep.
Oh, you grew up on the Cape?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
My mom's originally from Southbridge near Worcester.
Okay. Yep.
South central part of the state.
Yep.
So
more card shows out there. It's Arizona's not the best for card shows and even really card shops. So I'm excited for that too. There's just a lot more going on with the hobby in Massachusetts for me than where I'm at now. So,
excellent.
Cool. I love the Cape League baseball.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So when we were there, this was 20 years ago, went to a game and got the program and threw it in the drawer. 10 years later, I pull it out and I'm looking at the plate and it says B. Posey. So apparently I saw Buster Posey play.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I was like, oh, that's cool.
There's been a lot of great players that go through that. Yeah. Yep.
My greatest minor league game we have up in Williamsport. We have a minor league team, and it's obviously changed affiliations. I think right now it may be with the Pirates. But at one point, I think it was with the the Seattle Mariners of all places or whatever, maybe for a year or two. But anyway, I don't go to too many games there, but I remember going to one game and I saw Ted Williams play.
Wow.
Now, I'm not that old, and this Ted Williams was black, and he didn't play so well. But he was Ted Williams.
Okay, I was like, what's the catch?
I got to see Ted Williams play in a minor league game.
Okay.
Maybe not the Ted Williams, but a Ted Williams. Yeah, certainly didn't, at least for that game, didn't live up to the name. But
no. Not a 400 hitter, huh?
No. So,
what do you guys got? Any pickups on your end or what?
Nothing on my end. I actually, for the last probably, who knows, it maybe been around last time we did a two guys, one hobby. I really haven't been buying anything. The limited card budget has been taken up with, there have been some birthdays and holidays, Christmas and all that stuff. So it's sort of a self-imposed little timeout. But I do want to show one great card that I was the lucky recipient this year of, one of Bradley Claus's gifts. And I did show it off on one video, but for those that didn't see it,
oh yeah,
this gilded collection. I'm going to get there we go.
And you didn't have that card?
Better. Serial numbered out of 50, on card autograph.
Wow.
Yeah, I was shocked when I pulled that out of the envelope. Obviously he's very, very, very generous. So,
by the way, you just reminded me showing that Boggs card. I saw a video with you, John. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but you showed your I don't know if you showed it, but you mentioned your Gem Masters Boggs card.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys on YouTube probably didn't fully appreciate that when you said it, because a lot of vintage guys, maybe not as many 90s collectors, but that's like the card, like that's like a player's best card in that era. And if I ever meet you again in person, if you could bring that card, I'd love to just hold it. I've never seen a Gem Masters in person. So one of these days, I want to be able to.
But you said Gem Masters. I thought you said Gem Masters. I'm like, who knows Gem Masters? Like, I'm not getting. What am I missing here?
Gem Masters is the precious metal gems. Those are great. Those are awesome cards in their own. But then there's a parallel to that, which is a 1-of-1, and they only had it 1 year for baseball, 99. And that's the card right there. Like, that's not a rookie card, being the best card. The Gem Masters 1-of-1 for most 90s collectors, that's like the holy grail. So that's awesome that you have that.
Normally when I pull out the precious metal, the PMG, and I think those PMGs were either out of 25 or 50. I think 25, I want to say. But anyway, maybe 50.
Oh, 50,
when I pull that out and show it, they're like, oh my gosh, you have one of the PMGs. I'm like, oh, well, I also have, and when I put them side by side, but the 96 Select Certified Mirror Gold, that's a lot of people put that at the highest pedestal for 90s. I don't have that Boggs card, but all the other sort of big 90s Boggs cards, I have most of the other ones.
Yeah, I just had to mention that because next time I talk to him, I gotta tell him how awesome that is that you have that card. That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't think I recognized the importance of it because I bought it shortly after it came out. I'm sure I got off of eBay, and I was battling a fellow Boggs collector who I didn't know who it was, and now is a good friend of mine as part of the Boggs Trust. So he was my nemesis in the early days of eBay, and it was a 1-of-1. And at the time, I'm like, oh man, I way overpaid for that. I probably paid $250 for it, and at the time, I'm like, because I'm sure we were in a bidding war. And I was like, oh, I want it because I have the one out of 50. So I wanted the 1-of-1. And sure enough, that's probably about at least 10x.
Oh,
I know.
Probably 100x.
Yeah. Really?
You'd be shocked.
I don't know what card you guys are talking about, but
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's in my safe. It'll take a little while to pull out, but
those have
like
astronomically skyrocketed over the last year or two or whatever. Incredible. You know, you don't even want to know how much it's probably worth right now, because you get it out of your head. You don't even want to know, like, just great card to have. But don't be tempted.
Another Boggs collector. I'm sorry to get off a tangent here. We'll get into
the
main topic here. But
Don's like, do we have to talk 90s cards, really?
I don't have any idea what you guys are talking about. But that's all right.
Another Boggs collector. Another big Boggs collector made me an offer, because I think he has two. Well, he may not have two. He may only have one of that 96 Select Certified Mirror Gold.
Yeah.
He says, I'll trade you. And I'm like, no.
Because there's 30 of those.
There's 30 of those. Yeah. He could go out and find another one. And there's one on eBay right now if I really wanted to spend over $2,000 on it. But I'm like, I can't get that one of one back. I'm like, I can't. I can't. So,
oh, we could talk vintage now, Don. Sorry.
Yes, yes. We'll get away from modern and all the shiny stuff.
I thought something is modern. It was made this year or in 24.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
So I had to get it from Scott. I mean, it's practically my avatar.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So when I saw he painted that, I wish the James Earl Jones was actually for. I don't remember who he painted it for, but that was for a client, so that wasn't even available.
Yeah. Scott does amazing work. I actually, at some point, I think I want to get with him and maybe design a new logo for my YouTube channel. It's something I did when I first started the channel, and I have no artistic ability. So,
me either. Zero. Yeah. My kids, my daughters are good, and I'm like, well, I know they didn't get that from me, you know. So I'm the worst. So it's kind of like you either got it or you don't.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, so my daughter painted this for me.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, I could never do that. I'm like, just like you said, Adam, like, where did that come from?
Right.
Well, getting back to vintage, before we started recording here, Adam, you brought up a great topic to talk about that another YouTuber brought up on his channel and asked his audience to reply. And I actually did a sort of like a response video. And that's Greg over at Midlife Sports Cards. So if you want to maybe start the discussion there.
Yeah. And I watched your video. I want to mention that too. But yeah, Greg did a live, you know, he poses a lot of great questions on his channel. And one of the recent questions was, what are the top players from, really, they did baseball, but I know, John, you covered multiple sports in yours, you know, football, basketball, hockey. You know, what players are going to stand the test of time? What players are going to be relevant? I don't know the time period exactly they said, but maybe 20 years, 30 years in the future, the next generation, you know, when all us are out of the hobby or wherever, you know, the next crop of people that come in, what players that are in the inner circle now, popular now, relevant now, are going to stay there. So I think I've always thought that was a cool thought process, because number one, none of us know. I mean, you know, hopefully we'll be here to find out. But I always just think it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, how does that work? You know, you look at pre-war players that are still heavily collected. So on one hand, you hear people say, well, we never watched those guys play, never saw Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and all those guys play, but they're still at the top of the hobby, in demand now. And then people are making predictions now on, you know, Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, Clemente. You know, are they going to follow suit with the next generation, and are they still going to be in demand, or are they going to go out and are people going to want to collect like more modern players that they watch play? So it's just fun to think about, because it's like, will it do what it did already? You know, it's already happened kind of once where a lot of the guys stayed, right, that you never saw play. But maybe that will change in the future. Maybe it's going to be different this time. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think on that? As far as, do you think the collectors now are different than like when we were like, let's say in the 80s? I always had an interest in Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays and all those guys that I never saw play. But some of my friends didn't. So, but do you think there's like a greater percentage or less percentage of the kids now that care about the previous players that they never saw play than like when we did? I don't know. Maybe we don't know.
I think the inner circle Hall of Famers will probably always be relevant. Just people talk about them, their dads, even if they didn't see him play. Especially if they like history.
Yeah.
I think those guys will remain strong. I mean, already how many of us saw Musial play, Aaron play, Mays play? Not a ton of us. And they're already kind of standing the test of time.
Yeah.
The Carl Hubbles and the George Kells and Phil Rizzuto's, those Hall of Famers, I don't think so. As far as modern players, like Paul Skeens, if he keeps, obviously only had 1 year, but if that guy has a career that he's capable of, or the Juan Sotos or Freddie Freeman, Aaron Judges, these kids down the road will say, hey, I saw Aaron Judge play, and talk to their kids about it. That might be a possibility as well.
I think as generations come, that the players of older generations, so you have like the pre-war, and you would be lucky if we have grandfathers that may have remembered some of those players. Okay, then you have the post-war, then you have the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and then the next generation. And I think based on at least some of the comments on Greg's original video, not his live stream, but the video, not a whole lot of pre-war players were named, but then there was a little bit more from like the 50s and 60s, and then some from the 70s. So I'm thinking that as future generations come on board and into the hobby, that those older players, there's going to be fewer and fewer that are going to be remembered and more iconic within the hobby, and more players, some great players, are just going to fall into a little bit of at least hobby obscurity unless you're really into the history of the game. And so,
do you think part of that, John, is maybe they'll know the players, but there just aren't any cards? Like how many Babe Ruth cards are left? Or they're so expensive that 30 years from now, it's like,
that's a great. I was thinking that too, because the example everyone goes to first when they're trying to defend, like, they're all going to be remembered, is we never saw Babe Ruth play, we never saw Ty Cobb play, and those guys carried on and they still are relevant, but they had the cards working for them. That there's not that many of their cards. They don't have that compared to the modern stuff. There's not that many of their cards, and the cards they do have, not a lot of population on those. So I guess it was an easier survival than Mickey Mantle and those guys have survived so far. But to go another generation, there's a lot more of their cards. There's a lot more 1960 Mickey Mantle Topps cards out there than there are. So there's going to have to be more demand to keep like prices up where they are, right, in the demand. They're going to have to be more demand because there's way more cards of those guys to kind of keep pace. So, and there might be as the hobby grows, but they got certain factors. Yeah, the cards play a big role, right? Like there's a lot less of those pre-war players than there are the golden era.
Where the separation is not were they great players, but the context is within the hobby, or how popular are they going to remain in the hobby for generations to come to say, hey, I may be into vintage. What vintage players? Oh, I have to have a Ty Cobb in my collection, or I have to have a Mickey Mantle in my collection. Are they going to say 50 years from now, I need a Duke Snider card in my collection? Maybe not.
Yeah, like Honus Wagner.
Yeah,
you talk to the average person, probably don't know who he is, right? But in the hobby, he's like ultra famous. He's like one of the guys in the hobby because of the T206 card. But yeah, outside the hobby, For us, really, the main interest is even if the larger society forgets some of these guys, if they still remain relevant in the hobby, then that's kind of, I think, what the question's getting at. So it could be different. But yeah, and I think sports is the different sport. We always talk baseball first, as we should. It's the most popular and the longest running part of the hobby. But basketball and football, they've gotten real popular in recent years. So I don't know, maybe that will help those sports too stay even more relevant than baseball. I don't know. There's a lot of varying factors going on there with that.
Yeah.
With that concept.
You mentioned I tried to tackle the other sports besides baseball, and clearly the main comment was that I forgot, and quite so correctly, I forgot Bill Walton, or not Bill Russell. Sorry, Bill Russell on my top 10. But at any rate, I'm trying to okay, who are some of the great basketball? Who are some of the great football players? Okay, well, this one comes to mind, and I knew, especially when it came to hockey, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I just don't follow the sport or know the history of it. So I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to be missing some obvious players, and yeah, Bill Russell was one of them. I'm like, oh yeah,
but I mean, he's definitely in a top 10 all-time player. But in the hobby, I mean, he's only got 3 cards, three mainstream cards. Yeah. 57 tops is rookie. I think it's 57. Then he's got 61 Fleer, and then he's got 2 cards and 61 Fleer, and then he's got another one. I don't know, but he's got 3 main cards. So he'll always be a top 10. But
again, I don't collect basketball, especially even vintage basketball. So
yeah.
That was a struggle. I decided to go out on a limb and say, hey, let me take a shot at the other sports. And yeah, I flubbed a little bit, but hey, I gave it an effort.
It was a great. The one that was I was going to leave a comment, but I was I'm going to talk to John here in a little bit. I think you forgot Tom Brady, man, for football.
Brady, I looked it up. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame yet.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, that makes sense.
It was only the Hall of Fame because someone said Shoeless Joe Jackson.
No, he's
and
not
I'm
in the Hall of Fame.
Shoeless Joe Jackson isn't in the Hall. So I did keep it to Hall of Famers, but I did forget Kobe Bryant. I don't know why I thought that he felt I forgot when he passed away and didn't realize that they got him in and I should have looked it up. But I was like, oh no, I don't think Kobe was eligible yet. And anyway,
so who were the guys who were the guys you picked ahead of Kobe and Russell? Who did you pick in their place? Because I obviously didn't want.
I had I think I had David Robinson on the list because I'm trying to think of some I don't know. So yeah, I
you had Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Jordan on there. I had LeBron Robinson.
Not in the Hall of Fame, LeBron. So
that's true.
Will Chamberlain.
Pete Maravich, I think.
Okay.
Dr.
J.
The others. What?
Dr. J.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, other than maybe David Robinson, that was sort of hey, I just needed to. And it came to my mind. I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure he's on the Hall of Fame, so I threw him in there. So I think for the most part I did okay, but I knew I was going to get comments of, hey, how could you forget about so and so? And yeah, so.
And the other thing too that has changed, the argument of, we never saw these guys play, but they're still at the top of the hobby. Yeah, but now you got to think of it, if someone 20, 30 years from now, when they come in with money in the hobby to spend, there's a lot more players competing for their dollars. There's more errors, right? In the 80s, all right, if you want to buy vintage cards, you could go with the golden era or pre-war. But then now you got 90s cards. I know a lot of 90s collectors that don't collect vintage because they're spending all their money on 90s cards, like the Gem Masters and all that stuff we were talking about. So and then you got obviously guys like to collect the junk wax era, and stuff. And then you have all the newer stuff. So every generation, there's more eras that compete for that same dollar. So yeah, I mean, who knows? But there's definitely things working against the theory that what happened in the past will happen exactly again. As far as the same players will carry on.
I don't want to get this off on a whole different topic, but you immediately put to my mind the whole thing of, hey, we need to 10x the hobby and all that.
Right.
This talk of expanding the hobby. You know what? You maybe not 10x, but you're absolutely right. With all the cards that are currently out there now, and all the cards that are going to be produced in the next 10 or 15, 20 years, there's going to be so many cards out there of different eras, different players, that unless you do grow the number of collectors, because at some point people like us are going to get older and stop collecting, and so there's going to be a new group, but that group is going to have so many cards to choose from and players to choose from to collect, that unless you have a lot of people in the hobby, there's going to be a lot of cards that just no one has any interest in, and I don't want to say become completely worthless, but yeah, that's going to be an interesting concept in terms of the number of people within the hobby in the next couple decades.
Yeah, and they might have an interest in, like, for example, maybe someone says, I'd love to have a Hank Aaron rookie. I know that's a great card, but I could spend that $3,000 on Chipper Jones PMG. And I saw him play. You know, I'm a Braves fan. Not that I would make that choice, but that option wasn't there in previous generations, where it was like, oh, I'm going to get the Hank Aaron rookie. So now you have way more options. You have way more choices. And one of the things I'm trying to do now is I want to spread out, be more of a well-rounded collection. So, instead of just going like all my cards are Mickey Mantles and Larry Birds and Tom Brady, I'm trying to like thin out some of that and then get like a T206. And then I want to get, a T205. And then I want to have cards from the 90s. I want to have some cards from the 2000s, like of some of the most famous sets. I want to have like a type collecting method with it. So that's, I guess that's one road I've been going down, which is kind of fun because you don't get too deep with it, but you just pick out like, what's my kind of like the government setup where you have a representative for your county, your state, or whatever it is. What's my representative going to be for the T206 set? What's my representative for the Cracker Jack set? That's kind of what I've been trying to do lately,
Yeah. Well, so. and while you're doing that, you're collecting like the entire history of cards in a sense, in the different eras. And, and I'm sure it doesn't necessarily have to be, the biggest superstar in that particular set. But just an example of a maybe player that just speaks to you, or one that you were a fan of or admire if they're no longer playing. But then you have a copy of that card from that set, from that era, so to speak. And then you move on to another example. Yeah, that could be quite an interesting collection.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is like, if in my new card room that I'm going to have set up, right? If I have a friend over, family member that maybe they know something about cards, but they're more sports fans, they could come in and I could just show them like, hey, here's kind of the history of this card hobby thing. Here's the most important sets. And I don't have the best card from each set, but I got an example. And it's an interesting example. Like, I think the Cracker Jack, 1915 Cracker Jack I got was Ray Caldwell. He was a pitcher who I just randomly saw a story on him, how he got struck by lightning in a game, and they thought he was dead, and they woke him up and he finished the game. He finished a complete game after getting struck by lightning. So I was like, you know what? I want a card of that guy. And
that's what I like about some of the vintage, like that story. I never heard of the guy. I'm like, okay, he must have been a Red Sox or something. That was my immediate thought.
Yeah.
When you said his name, and then to hear that story, I'm like, that's so awesome.
Yeah. So things like, and then you don't have to spend an arm and a leg on a card. It's because, but you still got like you said, John, a kind of a connection or a tie to it, a cool story,
I think Mangini, that's sort of what his collecting. I mean, because he's trying to get a card now. He may want to get maybe a Hall of Fame or whatever, but I think he's trying to get a card from every single set that's been made, just to have an example. And some of them, like I know for a fact that they may not be Hall of Famers, but there's players that always has a story, and he tells the story about this player. Hey, you may not know who this is, but he did this and this and this, whatever. He was the first to do this, and you wouldn't recognize the name at all. But it's from some 1920 card set that he didn't have an example of, and now he has an example. So it's something similar.
Yeah, and it was I guess it was a YouTuber the other day who went on like a rant. I don't know if did you see John's video?
Yeah.
But I think it's been deleted. But basically, the idea was if you didn't see these guys play, like I only want cards of people that I saw play. Like I don't want anyone. I don't care about someone I never saw play. And you know what? I don't subscribe to that. I don't feel that way, obviously. But I've heard that many times in the hobby. There's a lot of people in the hobby that feel that way. Like, hey, I don't want to collect guys I didn't see play. And again, I don't collect that way, but I do understand like the tie to it. If like you went to a game, like I collect Pedro Martinez. I went to a bunch of Red Sox games where he was pitched and great memories. And obviously they won in 2004. That was like the greatest sports fan moment of my life. And he was a big part of that. So that definitely makes me want to collect them more. You know, it doesn't mean I'm not going to collect other players that I didn't watch, like Sandy Koufax or whatever, but it does help for certain things, but I don't need it to want to collect the cards. But I
know what? That's absolutely fine to collect that way because you can collect whatever way you want.
Yeah.
Just don't say F the other guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll collect the way you did. Like that guy did in the video.
That was way crazy.
Yeah. Because if you, it's all about, I think for all of us in one way or another, we have to have some sort of connection or interest in the cards that we buy. I don't think as collectors. Now, if you're like a flipper, you're just, hey, here's a card, I got a good deal, I think I may sell for it, more later down the road and stuff, and there's no connection to the card. But for collectors who keep a collection, there's some connection, and the connection could just be, hey, the history of the game, and these were some of the greatest players within the game. Or again, to both of your points, I can see someone say, hey, I have a connection to this player because I saw them play. I was a season ticket holder, or I met them in person at a card show, or whatever it is, whatever the connection is for that person. That's great. That will hold your interest within the hobby. And if you don't have any interest in any of the other cards, that's fine. Leave it for those people who have interest in those cards. But yeah, I don't see the need of bashing other collectors. But
I think it starts. I know for me, like I just happen to have a 76 tops here. So this was the first set I started collecting as a kid, and I pulled these out of packs. And so I didn't know anything about the players before me. And at the time, these were the players. And I think as kids today, they know Freeman and Judge and Soto, and they get into those guys, but then they might hear announcers talk about somebody or something, and it piques their interest to learn about the guys before them, whether it's basketball, whatever it is. And I think that's where it starts. You get a baseline with the modern players, and obviously you like collecting them because that's what's going on now. And when you're, when I was a kid, it was like, hey, Dave Parker and Willie Stargell for the Pirates were playing. But then it was like, oh, there was this guy Clemente. Who's that? Why does everyone think he's so great? Who's this guy Wagner that played for the Pirates? And that you just build on that. Yeah. And I think, that's where, again, I'm biased because I like collecting cards of guys I obviously didn't see play, but I don't think I started that way. Right. I started watching the guys or collecting the guys I watched, but then I got curious and wanted to learn more about the game.
Do you guys think? Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
I would just very, very quickly. What I always find interesting is for modern players. So you're watching a game, and someone's close to breaking some record. Well, what are these records that these modern players are breaking? They're breaking 30, 40, 50-year-old records of some of the greatest players in the game. And if it wasn't for what those players did, these records would just be constant year over year. Oh, this player hit another home run and got a new record that was broken last year. That was broken last year. That was broken, the year before. So when you're watching games and people come up, well, oh, so and so's batting such and such, and it's the first time in 30 years since Rod Carew or something, and you're like, oh, well, who's this Rod Carew? So the historical players that we never saw play still play an important role in today's game in terms of the records that some of the modern players are trying to break. So,
do you guys think that, because you were saying you were, the curiosity, Don, and I had that when I was a kid for whatever, I credit my parents with that, with like, creating an interest in older sports athletes, older players. But you don't need that. You can just do it on your own, just have that curiosity and through books and stuff. But like when we were kids, obviously we didn't have the internet. So do you think kids now are less curious about the past, like in sports, than we were? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I guess there isn't a way to like fully know. But
I think so. Just like even my youngest kid is 19 years old, and we went and saw the Bob Dylan movie recently, and he loves music. But he was like, "Who is Bob Dylan?" He's like, "I'll go with you, but I have no idea who that is." And I was like, "Seriously, you've never heard that name thrown out there?" And he loves the NBA, but I don't know that he would know. He'd know who Jordan and Larry Bird are and stuff, but some of the other guys, I don't know if he'd know Wilt Chamberlain. Like, they just have so much more to do, to get their attention and time that at least in his case, he doesn't care.
That's the big difference now is kids have literally unlimited choices and information. Anything you want, it's right there. Any piece of information. On one hand, you would think, well, with Google and all this stuff, it's way easier to learn about the past because it's all right there for you. All you got to do is talk and ask a question. But because there's so many options, social media and Netflix and literally endless things, we didn't have. Like we had, I had a cable box, I had a few options, and books and stuff. But without the internet, it's like, maybe you focus in more on the past and I don't know. It's just hard to know. I think that will play a role.
Books were a big thing for me. I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember if it was every month or every week. You could order books through school and you get them delivered. And I'd always get the baseball books or the football books or whatever sport it was. And that's how I learned about players.
Yeah, it would be interesting to find out how that all plays out because, it's like it's all there. It's all right there. Easy to access. If you want to learn about Stan Musial, it's very easy to learn about him. There's YouTube clips and there's Wikipedia and everything. But now he's going to compete with a million different things that we didn't have.
Right.
So,
I knock on wood. Hopefully, I'm still going to be in this hobby for a couple more decades. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see getting back to Greg's topic, what's popular in the hobby in the next 10, 20, 30 years that is maybe different from how we collect. And are there going to be you go to a card show and it's almost like vintage is everywhere because everyone's dumping it and no one wants to buy it. I don't know.
The other thing too is that a lot of people will say, well, the Mickey Mantles and the Willie Mays and the Hank Aaron's, they're inner circle, so they'll obviously be transcended. And no one's ever gonna not want their cards. But the guys like and you always hear examples like Harmon Killebrew and Al Kaline, like that second tier, great Hall of Fame players. But a lot of their cards are cheap already. Like how much further can they fall, really? Like I know the rookie cards, okay, but anything other than a rookie card for a lot of these second tier guys, they're already like dirt cheap. I think like how much further could they actually go? Even if there's always going to, unless it's literally zero people, and that's not going to happen. There's always going to be some people that want their cards. Even if it's less than today, how much further can their price actually drop?
It's curious to see what technology, who knows how you'll be able to get cards in 30 years. Who would ever dreamt that there'd be something called eBay that you could go on and buy cards or that they'd be graded. There might be something Shit, I don't know. It'll just be delivered to you, or like you get the history. Who knows how it might change the hobby.
Yeah.
So
Well,
basically, buy what you like, right? And like everyone always says.
I wouldn't be surprised
as
if
opposed to buy
everything
what you don't like.
Yeah, if everything becomes digital, like I mean, in theory, there may not be any, like, people may move away from the actual physical cards. Now that would be a big change, and obviously it wouldn't happen, overnight. But if everything is becoming with AI and just all the technology,
Right.
if like maybe not the next generation, but the generation after that are like, we don't want this physical stuff. I know Topps is trying to do it, that Topps Bun. I don't even know if they're doing that anymore. That the electronic cards, and you can trade them, and it's just an image on a screen. They did some
like
of that stuff,
NFTs or whatever they are.
Yeah,
all that stuff. I think that, but who knows? In a few decades, there may not be any interest at all in physical, actual cards. That they just want a digital copy of a card, and that's their collection. And somehow there'll be some rarity or limit that not everyone can have, or a limited number can have this one image, something. And who knows then what would happen to all these physical cards?
Yeah, I don't think anything's really going to change, at least for 20 years. I mean, because you think about a lot of the guys that love vintage cards or the old stuff that really appreciate it and spend their money on it are in their 40s. I've seen, obviously there's younger people too than that, but there's a huge base of guys in their 40s and on up, and they're not going to stop collecting anytime soon. So
when I retire on Mars, I can't take my collection with me, so it's going to have to be digital.
Yes.
So when I'm how many millions of miles away, I can't take this all with me, so it's going to have to be digital. So
there you go. Yeah.
So John, you haven't thrown out a quiz yet.
Oh yeah, we're almost getting near the hour here, and I actually had this question in mind about a month ago, before Christmas. So it is a Christmas-related hobby question. So, what was the first sports card set to include a Santa Claus card?
Ooh.
Because I know around Christmas time, people show off their Santa cards. What was the first sports card set? So that that opens things up for different sports. But what was the first sports card set to include a Santa Claus card? Now, there's actually two answers. The first year it was a promo. Then the following year it was actually included as a like an insert. So that may give you a little bit more hint.
So it wasn't like a Coca-Cola product or whatever. It was
it was a card company. I believe it was a licensed product for that sport.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna take a wild flyer and say Pacific. Was it Pacific Cards? Mike Kramer was always doing crazy stuff. So
no, but you're not too far off in sort of like an off-brand. It was the 1989 Pro Set.
Oh,
football.
Okay.
It was a promo, and then in the 1990 Pro Set for football, it was an actual insert. It was "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" on the back in 1990. So it was 89 as the promo. I forget how you get it. How people would get the promo card. I don't know if it was through dealers or whatever. But then in 1990, I believe it was actually included as some insert within the Pro Set for football.
I should have, because I like that Pro Set. Isn't the Barry Sanders rookie in that one? I think that's one of the.
Oh, you're asking me a football question. I'm not sure. Possibly.
I think 89. Yeah, 89 Pro Set. But yeah, I love the Pro Set.
Around the time when he would have been a rookie.
So. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then I think the next one in 1991, Parkhurst Hockey included a Santa Claus card. So yeah, it was a late late 80s, early 90s that some of the card companies started making these. I don't know why they started, but threw in a Santa card. Sort of makes sense. Football was later on in the season,
right?
Yeah,
I guess, and maybe
Could have been
I don't know.
basketball. Yeah, you're right.
I could have sat here for 10 hours. I never would have gotten that. No chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
I was out instantly.
Yeah, I think Topps didn't do it until the 90s or 2000s or something like that.
I wouldn't know. So pretty soon here is going to be the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame voting again. Are you eligible yet, Adam?
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's see. It'll be 4 years.
Oh, you were eligible last year. Okay.
No, I wasn't actually. It'll be 4 years like this summer. So last year, yeah. So it's been a little over 3 years. Yep.
So we can be bought.
Yep.
Our votes. So just throwing that out there now.
Yeah.
How about a Teddy Bruschi? No.
Our rates as being current members within the Hall of Fame are higher than just someone else that may vote for you. So again, just keep that in mind.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it's always an interesting process. You guys you weren't last. Were you last year?
Yeah,
you were last year. Yeah. I voted for both of you guys. Of course.
All right.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah. It's been fun, regardless of whatever with that. It'll be anyone who just votes for you. That's pretty cool that someone votes for you, just thinking you're a cool guy,
Right.
That works.
Yeah.
What place did you come in last year, John? The voting?
I think it was like 2 or 3 votes short of you, Don.
Oh, that's right.
Place. Yes.
Don, you were the number one vote getter?
I was. People off than I do. So
I spent more money than John did.
Yeah. Well, actually, on I think it's the 26th of January is my 5-year anniversary on YouTube.
Wow.
I can't believe it's been 5 years that
I hit 4 in December. And it blew my mind. I was like 4 years, but 5.
Yeah. So I'm going to do like a 5-year recap and just see how many videos. I don't even know how many videos I've done over that time, and I'm probably going to be shocked at how many videos I've done. But I just really enjoy this, especially like these collaboration videos. But just turning the camera on and talking about cards and stuff. I can't imagine my hobby without this now.
Right.
Yeah.
Before it was me and maybe chatting with a couple fellow Boggs collectors and me just getting packages in the mail and looking at it and going, oh, cool, and storing it away. And that was it. And now I get to talk about cards, show off cards, interact with other YouTubers, and just really enjoy this hobby just so much more. And I'm so glad I decided to hit that record button for the first time.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to any shows this year? You going to the National or Strongsville or any of that?
I'm going to Strongsville, but not the National. I think you're going to both, John, right?
Yeah, I'm going to both, and that's another reason why I really haven't bought much lately. Is since the last Strongsville and since the last National, I've been setting a little bit of money aside, more for the National. Each pay that's taken out of my current spending, because at the National, I'm hoping. Now, I don't want to force myself to buy a card just because I may have it on my want list, but if all works out well, it'll be the most I've ever spent on a card. So it's not sort of like a grail card, so to speak, one that I think would definitely be a highlight in my collection. But it's going to, even in a low grade, it's going to cost me a decent amount of money. So I want to be able to have enough money to not just buy that card and say, I'm done.
So are you going to tell us what this card is? Or are you just
it's the 54 Hank Aaron rookie card.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I just that's just every time I see it. And I'm also going for the Aaron run. I have his rookie card and 3 other cards I need, and I'm done with the basic Topps registry. I'll be looking for a couple of the ones I'm missing at Strongsville. Some mid grade stuff, nothing too expensive. I need his 57, his 60, and his 63, and his rookie. So they're not super expensive ones, especially in like 4s. They don't break the bank, but I'm thinking at the most a 2.5, maybe probably a 2 for his rookie. Because like I said, I still like to have some money to buy some other stuff.
Right.
But that would be the most I've ever spent on a card ever. So, but it has to be the right copy because when you get 2s, 2.5s, some of them could.
You could be all over the board with that.
All over the board. So I want one that when I look at it, I go, yes, for the grade. That looks like my 54 Bowman Ted Williams. That's a 2.5. I look at that and I go, for that grade. It's gorgeous, well centered, all that stuff. So we'll see. There tend to be a lot of Aaron rookie cards that like the National and stuff. So I'll have my choices, but
I've seen even other YouTubers. I've seen 2s and 3s of that card that look beautiful. Like, so they're out there. They're hard to find.
I think if I had the money, Billy Ball Game. I forget what his grade was, and I think it was no more higher than a 3, maybe a 2.5 or a 3. Gorgeous.
Yep.
Absolutely gorgeous card. That's the type of diamond in the rough that I would like to find, and I know I may have to pay at the higher end for the number grade,
right?
But yeah, so I'm saving up as much as I can for the National.
I get more impressed by today I was on Instagram and this guy Matty C on Instagram, and he collects incredible cards in 1s and 2s, low grade stuff that looks like 10s. He's Mickey Mantle's a 1956 Topps Mickey Mantle and a PSA 1 that literally looks perfect. It's perfectly centered. And I get more impressed with that. If I see something like that, I'm like, oh man, that's the diamond in the rough right there.
Yeah.
Then
absolutely.
when someone showcases a real high grade vintage, those are cool too, but to see a 1 or a 2 that looks perfect, I mean, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? Are you going to Strongsville or the National this year?
Not Strongsville, probably not the National either, because I'm doing, as I mentioned, a big move. So it's kind of, I might have to push all that stuff to next year. I'll probably do some local shows in Massachusetts, but the big shows I'll probably have to push over to 2026.
Strongsville will be a little closer to you. Well, obviously a lot closer, but still not super close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. It's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's easy.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we're sort of wrapping up here at the hour. Anything else that you want to bring up and talk about, Adam? Or
no, I appreciate having me on, guys. I love this show. I love watching it. So I was honored to be invited on, and I was happy to talk with you. I haven't talked to you guys in a while. We came on for 3 and 3, both of you guys early on when I started doing that, and haven't really had a chance to talk to you too much since then. So it's been fun.
Yeah. No, I was glad you accepted the invitation. I try mixing it up a little bit between guys that are on a lot, guys that aren't, and I haven't done a watch count, but I'm sure the guys I pick are outnumbering John's as far
probably
as the videos. But no, Adam, I'm very happy that you came on. You're a good dude. I'm glad I got to meet you in person, and hopefully my wife and I love the Cape. Maybe we can make it up there again sometime and hook up with you.
When you're in the area, let me know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I'm ever, because I go up to New Hampshire, my family and I go up to New Hampshire every summer, but obviously a whole bunch of other people coming along with me. It's not like I can take an extra day or whatever ahead of. But yeah, if I'm ever up in the area or we have a chance to meet in person, I will definitely break out that Gem Masters. To show you. So, and I should have mentioned this when you first came on, but for those of you, probably few who are not familiar with Adam's channel, I will have a link to his channel in the description of this video. So definitely go check Adam's channel out and all the great content that he puts out. And yeah, with that, thank you for all of you who have watched up to this point, and we'll see you when we do the next episode of Two Guys, One Hobby.